This is an expensive bottle, it turns out. I didn't realize it. So it'll be easy to Google, but maybe not easy to buy. Today I want to talk about inspiration and effectively take your inspiration from wherever you can and get your ego out of the way. I'm Daniel Whittington. I'm the Chancellor at Wizard Academy and Whiskey Marketing School. By the way, this whiskey was a gift from Cody Trahan. And I mean, thank you, Cody. Thank you. When you're an artist, or you want to be taken seriously as a business person, or you're a musician, or crap, if you just have a job and work, there's the temptation to think that how you get your ideas and how you come up with stuff has to be unique and all you and the product of your natural brilliance and innovative mind, and that two things will cause you to be not real. One of them is someone else had an idea that you didn't think of, and now you're applying it, and that's why it worked. And the second one is that the story of how you thought of it is so silly, you feel a little embarrassed because it's not this magical unicorn of a story of I went off into the mountains and I meditated and I fasted for a week and I came down from on high with an idea. Instead, it was no, I was watching my kid take his bath and play with his little ducks and the soap. And this thing popped into my head, made me laugh, and then later I couldn't get it out of my head, and so I decided to do it. Right? And then when you go tell that story, it's wow, that's not very sexy. but the thing is, that's where so many great things happen. As a musician, it's very hard to be, I do have a lot of stories that I think would be cool in a music story, where it's where'd you get that song? Oh, I was standing and I played this riff and it came to me. Right? Or I was playing with a band and we just started making up and I felt the music roll through me and started saying words, and next thing you know I had a whole song. I have a lot of those stories, but I also have stories like this one time when I was working in a music store in Santa Maria, California, and oh man, what was the name of the place? I wish I could remember, but the owner was just the coolest guy on the planet, one of the most generous people I've ever met. Helped me get my first real electric guitar. Anyway, Jerry, if anybody watching this lives in Santa Maria, California and knows a music store in Santa Maria, Jerry was the first name of the owner, and I worked at the front counter. And one day, kids would come in for lessons. One day this kid came in and his mom handed me a toy guitar, it's basically plastic, and it's about this big, and it wasn't an ukulele, it was a 6-string, child's guitar, but not like a Toys R Us toy, but it was close. And she wanted to know if I could put strings on it, which would be nylon, and then, because they were tied, and you couldn't just roll them the right way, and I was yeah, let me figure it out. And so, kid goes in to take his lesson, I sit down, I start fiddling around, I get it tuned up, and I start playing around with this little plastic toy kid's guitar. And what was kind of crazy was I could do these finger spreads on this guitar that were a 7-8 fret stretch. I could never do on a real guitar. And I started fiddling around with this riff, and it was really fun, and it was really groovy, and I really liked it, and it made me laugh, and I wrote some lyrics to it, and it was a love song. It started as a love song. And then the lady came and picked up her guitar, and I went, well, crap. So I went and grabbed a real guitar, and it turns out I couldn't quite make any of the stretch that I was making before. So I had to rewrite the whole thing, and it ended up in this song it's still out there, I think, on Bandcamp. It's simple. It's called Simple. I saw you. It sounds so simple. And it's just sort of jazzy, funky, slinky song. And what it did was I stumbled onto the first lyrics, and then I loved the rhythm of it. So I sat down like a dork and I wrote how many syllables per line there were. And on the second verse, I wrote every single line with the identical syllable count from the previous verse, every single line. So if you line them up, they're one by one. And it was just this because I'm a dork and because that's fun to me. But like when you tell the story, where'd you write that? Oh, I played it on a shitty kid's guitar, a toy basically, and then it turned into a song. In the story of starting the Psalm School, I get tunnel vision when I'm studying and nerding out on things. And I was sitting at lunch with Roy, the founder of this campus, and I told him this thing that I was studying about whiskey and studying education and studying things that were not really being taught in the whiskey industry, and that they weren't talking about marketing and communications, and they weren't truly going through the wine level of deductive tasting in any way. And I thought, man, there's really missing in the industry. It never occurred to me to start a whiskey sommelier program. It was Roy who said, hey, you realize we have a school, you're gonna start a whiskey sommelier program, ready, go. And that was almost 9 years ago now. Again, I would like to say I studied and I was doing and I saw a need and I stepped into the gap. I will start a school. It wasn't at all my idea. It was Roy Williams. And then I went, how? And he said, figure it out. And so I did, right? That's not a sexy story for me. The figuring it out part I'm pretty proud of, but it still marks one of the most important things that's ever happened to me. And I have to stand out there and go like, it wasn't originally mine. Rex showing up on the channel to stand next to me and drink whiskey and make it more interesting, not my idea. Starting a YouTube channel to drink whiskey on camera, not my idea. Responsible for a whole lot of the cool shit in my life. But let's talk about Old Forester for a second. Inspiration for this one was the 150th anniversary of Old Forester. Old Forester has a crazy amount of history with Brown. He was the first to bottle whiskey. He did tax stamps that became the norm for a whole bunch of people. And I mean, sell bottled whiskey. Like as a full retail, we're gonna sell only bottled whiskey. He was doing it to protect the quality of his product. Anyway, Jackie Zycam did 3 releases of the Old Birthday. They pulled 150 barrels, 150, and she split it into 3 blends, blend 1, 2, and 3. This is blend 1 if you are looking up other reviews. It's your typical, 72, 18, 10 mash bill, so 72 corn, 18 rye, 10 barley. And each one of them, she sort of like blended to aim at a slightly different flavor profile. I think it would probably be cool to be able to A/B compare all 3. I'm not gonna do the work to gotta track down. I mean, they're all ranging from like $500 to $1,000 a bottle now. So I'm not gonna go track down $2,000 more worth of whiskey. But it would be kind of cool to ABC all 3 of them. This one is supposedly 46 barrels, and she wrote it down as a fruit bomb. Huh. Okay, I could see what you mean if you're talking about like lighter fruits, like peach and apricot. But there's a lot of like dark oaky spice in there too, like real spice and real honeygram and granola and oak and dry and black pepper. That's all in there too. It's not aggressive or pointy, so I guess if you're trying to pick between what wins, the soft, pretty, fruity, and the spicy, dry tannin, I think it's probably 60-40, with 60 being the fruit and 40 being the barrel tannin and spice. But it could get closer to like 55-45. Oh, hey. Ooh, hey, that's rich. Now the spice and the black pepper is really crawling through and taking over. And then the aftertaste is actual dry spice cabinet. Like actual cinnamon, not sugar cinnamon, pepper, tannin, oak. Little bit of sweet cracker or sweetness, honey. Woo! That is, yeah, there you go, 62.8%. I'm definitely adding water to this. I'm gonna let it sit. With a little bit of water, the dryness and the barrel notes push forward. It becomes more 50-50 fruit and barrel. Oh, but it's much softer palate. That brings all the fruit notes that were in the nose into the palate before the barrel dryness takes over. I like it way better with a little bit of water added to it. But that's really pretty. That's fun. It's easy when you watch these things from the outside or watch people do things from the outside to look at them and think like, wow, they have all these cool ideas and they're really unique and they're innovative and aren't they brilliant? But all creators, if they're being honest, will tell you 30% of what they came up with was their idea. The other 70 was inspiration from their heroes and what they admire and what they love. And the 30% was making it their own. You know what I mean? And I think as creators, we should be more honest about that, because I think it should lower the barrier to entry for people. When you realize how much of what you create is weird inspiration and weird origin stories and influences, and then flat out other people's ideas. This whole thing, where I walk in, sit down, put a bottle down, and tell a story, was not my idea. It was a friend of mine, and he said, here's a thought I think that you could do. And he showed it to me. I still have it on my cell phone, where he said, set your cell phone and hold it right here. And then we were at a fast food restaurant, and he grabbed his iced tea, and he left the table, and he came back, and he set the iced tea down, and he said, I'm Daniel Whittington. And he did literally what I'm doing right now. And as soon as I saw him do it, and I'm watching it on my phone, it just resonated through to my bones. I immediately went, holy crap, that's exactly what I could do. And that sounds like me. Like, that sounds like something I would do. That resonates with what I think matters and why I want to keep doing this and why what I want to contribute to this community of YouTubers. I think part of it was he's brilliant at ideas, and part of it was that I think he saw me and he knows me and he saw, oh, I know what Daniel could do and I know what Daniel would be great at. And so he just showed me. And I have really enjoyed this. It's way more work than anything we ever did before for me. But it's way more like my natural zone. And so I really enjoy this kind of thing. This is what I tend to do hanging out with my friends on the back deck, is talk about interesting things like this or calling people up on the phone. The video I shot about Monongahela rye just a little bit ago started as a serious conversation with a couple of nerd friends of mine about Monongahela and rye whiskey and why is it that everyone thinks of rye a certain way now when its history is nothing like that, and things like that, right? And that turns into conversations with you guys. But I think we should be transparent. When I'm watching musicians, I used to classify this way. There are bands that I watch and I am amazed by and a little demoralized, right? Amazed by, and then I think, what am I even doing? Why am I even trying to be a musician when that's out there? There's no way. I should just stop, right? And then there's a whole other category of musician and artist that when I go to their shows or I play their albums, I end inspired to create. Elbow, U2, old U2 songs. I go and listen to a U2 album. By the end of it, I'm ready to go into my garage and start writing songs. I listen to Guy Clark and Lyle Lovett and Townes Van Zandt. By the end of it, I'm ready to go sit in my garage and write songs. It inspires, it motivates me to create and do things. And that's what I want our channel to be. And the things that we do here is I want this to motivate people to start things and create things and do new stuff and be more amazing than anything we've ever thought of. And I think a big part of that is being more transparent about the sausage being made and how it's not just like, well, if you are also brilliant like me, then you too can create a YouTube channel. And so that's me telling you half the cool shit I do in my life was someone else's idea. And then I made it my own. So here's to you, being inspired anywhere you can find it, and then going and doing cool. I'm really glad you're here.